McDonald's, Cheetos, Doritos, Ditos. Food is something we all need. But do we really need games about it? Apparently we do. Today we are going to immerse ourselves into the weird world of food games. If you question why they're weird, do I really need to answer that? Pepsi Man, no introduction because it doesn't need one. Mike Butters gives us everything we need to know. The Pepsi people are hollering inside of this can and they need our help. Pepsi Man hurts himself, ejects his juice onto the screen, and now we're on the move. Running down the streets of somewhere, avoiding obstacles like cars, holes, and people made out of cardboard. It's a very simple game. We're just jumping and sliding under things while sprinting at 1,000,000 miles an hour, in PS1 speed obviously. If you have ever played Temple Run or Subway Surfers, Pepsi Man is literally the grandfather of those games. I don't know who Pepsi Man banged to make this game where Monkey wants to kill me, but it is the grandfather. Don't even need to call Maury. The only major difference is our goal of reaching the one and only Pepsi machine, and also a building that says kids and kids, kids and kids. I know there are some people on the internet who love hearing that. I'm definitely not one of them. I'll stick with the Pepsi, thank you. The only thing I want to do, aside from drink Pepsi obviously, is listen to these people who are panting and dying from not getting a sip of the golden sugar water.
You got here just at the perfect time. I got a call that a vending machine ahead ran out of Pepsi.
The conviction in this man's voice is parallel to nothing. Pepsi Man is one of those strange cases where the game is subtitled in Japanese, voiced purely in English, but was only released in Japan. I can't think of another game that did this. It's just really weird to see. I guess it doesn't really matter because there's barely a story to this game. It's one of those video games where you're here for the experience, and for this revelation I just had. People are always saying levels where you're going down a big hill in a city, like this one, are copying Sonic Adventure 2. Pepsi Man did it first. Going at the speed of sound, traveling down this hill in a city, Sonic Adventure 2 ripped off Pepsi Man. Why is this not trending? This is more important than 99% of the shit seen on Twitter anyways. This movement needs to start today. Forget about John Cena, Pepsi heads time is now. As you continue on your Pepsi journey, you're kinda just doing the same thing from level to level, with the world becoming more chaotic the further you go. Like, what is even happening here? Why is the world ending? This is a game made for kids, and to advertise Pepsi. Is it trying to tell me, no matter the perilous hazards, nuclear wars, gunfire, burning buildings, always stop at a Pepsi machine, no matter the dangers? If Pepsi Man can do it, so can we, right? Probably not. It's not easy making it to these machines. Pepsi Man gets pretty damn hard after a little bit. The game is all about memorizing the path you need to take, when you need to run faster, when to slide, remembering what obstacles are coming up and where they're coming from. You need to deal with a time limit too, because that always makes games more fun. Reaching the end of these levels can get pretty hairy, but it's very important we do. How else are we going to see Pepsi Man bust on the screen? Like, seriously, what is he doing here? It's just a waterfall of Pepsi that happens for no reason. After it washes away, we continue our journey, preparing ourselves to see whatever shenanigans Mike is up to. Or see stuff like Pepsi for TV game. What kind of surfer lingo is this? These live action cutscenes are interspersed throughout the game, and yeah, I get it. It's supposed to be, haha, look at the fat, obnoxious American eating his food, living in a pigsty. Sense of humor is different between cultures. In my opinion, these cutscenes come off as random and pointless, but I'm all for it regardless. Seeing games with any FMV is always interesting to me. It's just unfortunate we didn't get a live-action Pepsi Man suited gentleman somewhere throughout the game, especially with the shit I had to deal with on the last level. It would have been a nice treat to send me home happy. It's ridiculous. You need to run through a factory with a bunch of conveyor belts, either slowing you down or speeding you up. You can't touch anything. You barely have any time to know what's coming. It's an onslaught of torment. With the level culminating to Pepsi Man using a piece of a box, I think, as a surfboard. I can't believe I made it through this. It was one of those last life before a game over miracle runs. Pepsi Man does whatever this is and shows us all a glitchy screen that says Pepsi Factory on it. For some reason, you need to deal with this afterwards. Not sure why. That last level seemed to be a fine place to end the game, but sure. When we finally win, Mike Butters becomes the most excited man in history. Pepsi, only my choice. Honestly, yeah. credit roll, and the game ends with a pee-pee joke. This game is weird, alright? That doesn't mean it's bad, though. Pepsi Man is a pretty good game for what it is. What you're seeing here was original for the time period, at least to my knowledge. Creativity oozed out of the snap of that Pepsi can, which is great. It's tough to make food games. It would be like if I told you, make a game about M&Ms. How are you gonna do that? You'd probably just make a Crash Bandicoot clone out of it. Just kidding, that was already done. Didn't know it until recently. M&M Shell Shocked for the PlayStation. When you turn the game on, you probably won't assume it's a Crash clone. Your brain will be stunted with what you're looking at, but you're not gonna think of Crash Bandicoot outside of these boxes. You'll just be cruising down the road, watching motorcycles fly by you at 1,000,000 miles an hour, then disappear, your car's bouncing up the hill, people skirting on the road, blowing up and dying, the typical stuff you'd expect to see in a game about M&Ms. You need to do 3 levels of this driving stuff, and then you enter the factory. Big Yellow spinning around like that, jumping on boxes. Come on, guys. Nitro boxes are now danger boxes. TNT is now box with bomb on it. This is almost shameless. Not fully, because it's a game about M&Ms. So that becomes your hook to try finding out what is going to happen during your playthrough. The story we are given is this. The regular M&Ms are going on vacation, so they leave the factory duties to the M&M Minis, and they screw everything up, basically. So it's Big Yellow's job to put these guys back in their place, getting everything in order. And if you really think about it, the story is almost commendable. There has always been a battle between people who like M&Ms. Which is better, M&M Minis or the regular ones? So they're playing off of that, I think. It's the biggest stretch since the War of the Stray Dog in 1925, but does anyone have any better ideas? Probably not. So with that story in mind, we're trudging through the levels, having gameplay that is basically a Crash Bandicoot clone. Your only real difference is the difficulty. Crash is known for being a challenging game. Can't really say that about M&M Shell Shocked here, for the most part at least. This game is incredibly generous with lives. After finishing the first 3 driving levels, I had over 30. There are moments where you'll die, of course, like here. How was I supposed to know I can't touch the chocolate? I am fucking chocolate and I can't touch myself? Come to think of it, this game is kinda dark. Right now, I am technically traversing over a blood river. I bet a parent somewhere out there said this game is too violent. But outside of weird random things that you don't know will kill you, these robots that are scattered about, or you jumping into a blood river, you don't really need to worry about getting a game over. Shell Shocked gives you lives up the wazoo. Even the boss battles are mostly brain dead. Here, we're battling a big green above the sea urchin, and I just jump from platform to platform, dropping chocolate on its head. It's no deeper than that. I was getting pretty bored playing the game. Until I reached this helicopter boss, whatever it is. I learned something in this moment. The hit detection in this game is unbelievable. This thing completely misses me and I still die. The hitbox is massive. We're effectively doing the same thing as the last sea urchin boss, jumping on platforms to have paint fall on the mechanical beast. It was just way more difficult than it needed to be. Like, what is this? This guy was clearly on the other platform and I got killed. You can't even argue that shit. I was actually getting pissed off while playing a video game about M&Ms. And sadly, it didn't stop there. After the most intense forklift driving level you will ever see in a game, avoiding boxes, stuff falling, it was just as chaotic as it sounds, trust me, I made it to the final world. At least I'm sure it's the final world. You need to do a lot of jumping on moving platforms here, and it's almost unplayable. This is where I discovered your character doesn't have momentum of his own. It's really hard to explain, but when you move and jump off of a platform, your character still has the momentum direction of the moving platform. So if it's going backwards and you jump forwards, you get sucked backwards and die. You can barely control it. The situation isn't like momentum you see done in other games, since that obviously wouldn't be an issue. The best way I can explain this is like you become one with the moving platform when you stand on it. It is so frustrating to deal with, and this level is full of it. I just couldn't do it anymore. I got to hear "oops, uh-oh" way more times than I should have. I can't believe I rage quit from an M&Ms game, but I did. If I want my blood pressure to rise, I'll just go buy a bag of M&Ms and eat them all. You know, maybe this was the method all along. This is the secret advertising technique of mental manipulation. I will say though, even with my rage quit, Shell Shocked is alright. It's not Pepsi Man good, You get your little oops, uh-oh soundbite out of it, and the new legendary stream emote of M&M Excite, trademarked by me and also M&M's. This game is playable, you can have a serviceable time with it, but this isn't the sauce we all want. As humans, we need the relaxing games, especially after a rage quit, and that's what M&M's Kart Racer is going to do for us. Hopefully. I know it's a bit of a jump since the PS1. The M&M franchise slowed down a bit in the gaming space, to everyone's horror obviously. For some reason, the Wii became their playground, and judging by the main menu, that said reasoning becomes clear. We got our quick race, training, tournament, and a selection of M&M characters. I went with Orange because he really looks like he does not want to be here. I picked my kart, and this is game. Shortly into the NASCAR level Grand Prix you are taking part in, you hear voices from, I don't know.
Approaching sound barrier!
It sounds like the voices are being recorded from a phone or like a cheap recorder. That's definitely not a studio mic. And why they are even included is a mystery to me. It doesn't really add anything. Am I supposed to be excited when I listen to it? You hear
Approaching sound barrier! Perfect start!
Constantly. It does not stop. I don't know what is causing it to happen. When I get these turbo pickups, he says it. When I don't grab them, he still says it. We are not approaching the sound barrier. We are not even close to it, okay? These, of course, aren't the only voices we hear. To add some life to the characters during races, occasionally you'll hear a
Oops, sorry.
or my favorite,
Look, a nut.
So clearly this M&M world is filled with life. We got all those obnoxious voices that exist for seemingly no reason, the character interaction, a sound when you bump into the wall, and one engine sound. That's it. No joke. This game has like, I want to say 10 sound effects overall, including the voices. The game doesn't even have a water sound when you enter it. Not even a splash. There are no items, there is no challenge, there is no anything. This is on par with Doomsday Racer by M&Ms Games, but it might actually be worse. As I was going through the tournament, I made it to this boat level. I'm drooling on myself, playing M&M Kart Racer at 5:30 in the morning, questioning why I'm even doing it. I was going along, and I got stuck. This ramp, that is part of the race, mind you, you need to go up here, your car gets stuck on it. And you get to listen to that nice, ear-piercing screeching sound of your engine struggling its little heart out. Are they for real? When you're going around this bend, you need to make sure you take your time and back up just to get enough speed, or else your car can't make it up the ramp. I didn't know they wanted to add realism in for this one section only. I love how this is one of the only ramps in the entire game, and it's fucked up. All the other tracks I played are just flat grounds, meaning every track is essentially the same thing. The only part of this game that would give anyone a reason to continue playing it is the chocolate coins if you want to unlock cars. Don't know why you'd want to do that, but you can. It is a choice. What was going on over at the M&M HQ? This released in 2007. Surely you've played another kart racer before, at least one, so you could understand what makes them fun. Maybe not, I don't know. The saddest part is that this game only scrapes the surface of the depressing experiences you can have on the Wii. There is so much garbage on this console, it's genuinely insane to think about. But in the case of M&Ms, these games have really started to sour the taste in my mouth about the product. The crunchy goodness means nothing after that. Only if it had more cheese. More Cheetos cheese. Let's see how a real mascot handles their games. Chester Cheetah, wild quest. Chester himself is inviting me to go on a wild quest? Say less. I busted out of the Four Corner Zoo in search of Hip City, USA, but Mean Gene keeps getting in my way. Enough talk then, let's beat the snot out of Mean Gene and go find Hip City. As expected, with the incredibly elaborate build-up that I skipped over, we're going around different parts of make-pretend cities in the United States looking for pieces of a map. I mean, what else are you gonna do with Chester? He doesn't really have any rivals or anything. You just gotta make something up. At least they aren't ripping off another game. Wild Quest is your typical 16-bit platformer. You're going around, collecting paws, swimming with this animation that I initially thought was a swimming animation. Apparently it's not, and Chester Cheetah has the ability to fly. When was this established in his lore? I don't remember this. With the amount of Cheetos bags I've eaten in my life, you'd think at least one of them would tell me that he is part bird. Aside from that one interesting little tidbit, I hate to break it to you, the game isn't really all that great. It's a very slow-paced game, ironically, drowning in mediocrity, and you're better off just digging through the Super Nintendo library looking for a different game that isn't about Chester. But if you really care about him that much and want more, I found out afterwards I was playing the second in his series of games. The first is called Too Cool to Fool, the game that started it all. Chester Cheetah here. I am Righteous Kitty from the heart of Hip City, but right now I'm being held against my will in the Four Corners Zoo. Well, I mean, you could just fly out of the situation. Based on what I just saw, how or why is this even an issue, Chester? Too Cool to Fool is essentially the same thing as Wild Wild Quest, stylized differently if you couldn't tell, except this time we get an electric guitar. You get to sit there watching Big C grind it out on the strings. It instantly kills the worms or whatever we're going against if they come close to Chester. It's a strange power-up because you can't even move while using it, you just sit there and watch them. Keeping in line with the strange, we also have a power-up that makes the game darker. When you grab a pair of sunglasses, it makes the entire game harder to see while exposing these hidden paw circle treats. Why aren't they just bags of Cheetos? Again, this is a pretty mediocre game with not much to say about it. All I'll say is I understand why we didn't get any more Cheetos games after the Super Nintendo. It doesn't really matter though, because that's where Doritos came in to save the day. Lots of people seem to be unaware or just forget, but Doritos has 4 video games. They aren't all food games per se, they technically still count though. In the late 2000s, Doritos had a sponsorship with Xbox called Unlock Xbox, where indie developers created games. They were released for a short period of time, and players got to try them and vote on them for which would get an official release. Doritos Crash Course ended up winning the battle, with Harm's Way being the runner-up. But Doritos were happy enough with the quality of Harm's Way, so they ended up releasing both of them. It's probably one of the best sponsorships in gaming history, honestly. $50,000 to an indie developer, and both of these games are actually really good. If you grew up during the Xbox 360 period like I did, these 2 games were the broke-ass, I can't afford anything because I'm a child, and can't get a job unless I did slave labor video games. Free-to-play titles were hard to come by back then. These were 2 of the few. Doritos Crash Course is just like the TV show Wipeout, letting you play as your Xbox avatar, another thing that was cool for the time period. People stopped giving a damn about them as time went on though. Years later, Xbox redid the whole avatar thing, and not many people seem to care, but in 2009, avatars were cool. Look at my little character doing parkour. Crash Course is unironically fun though. It controls well, has a challenge to it, and is nostalgic as fuck. Harm's Way, on the other hand, is a pretty unique take on racing, where you can either play as the driver or control turrets. If you play as the driver, you drive, obviously, avoiding the turrets around the track and hope you don't die. If you are controlling the turrets, your job is to kill the drivers, blowing their tires out. You can shoot certain hazards around the track to screw with the players driving, forcing them to change their course. Both of these games are genuinely some of the best Xbox 360 arcade titles. Seriously. Harm's Way Online is really fun. Not so much when you're going against bots though. These games are still available through Xbox One with backwards compatibility, so if you want to play them, you can do it right now. Same can't be said about the other 2, since if you remember, which I'm sure you did because your memory is second to none, there are 4 Doritos games. The third is Doritos Crash Course 2 that you cannot play anymore unless you downloaded it before they removed it from the Xbox store. You can't even emulate it either because you need an avatar to play it. Their final game, technically their first if you look at the release dates, is Doritos Dash of Destruction. This is the only title released by Snack Strong Productions, that's Doritos game publishing company, that actually has bags of Doritos and a Doritos truck in it. Similar to Harm's Way, you can either play as the Doritos truck or a T-Rex. As the truck, you need to drive around, grabbing all the big Doritos that turn into a whole bag when you get them, trying to avoid being mauled by the forbidden monster. If you play as the T-Rex, you need to kill all the Doritos trucks trying to grab their Doritos. It's another simple premise for a game, obviously not to the quality of Crash Course or Harm's Way, but hey, it pulverizes what Chester was doing back in the ancient times. Doritos wiped their ass with Cheetos in the gaming space, my lord. And we can sit here talking about Doritos, Cheetos, M&Ms, whatever, all day long. Eventually, you're gonna run into the corporations that beat them all, like McDonald's. There are a lot of McDonald's games that have been talked about to death, mainly McKids on NES, a title that has grown a cult following over the years. You also got stuff like McDonald's Treasureland Adventure that is famous for, you know. But have you heard of Donaldland? I haven't. It was only released in Japan for the Famicom, and what is this cover art, by the way? If it wasn't for this, I wouldn't even know what's going on here. Caterpillars, Pac-Man ghosts, a tree stump with a face on it. Oh boy. Look at little Donald. Apparently that's his name now, Donald McDonald. We get a little roll call of his friends too. Mayor McCheese, Fry Guys, Captain, Grimace, Uncle. Who the fuck is Uncle? Oh, he actually is a real character. Alright then. Good luck. Nothing else from you, Mayor? Just good luck? As it seems to be with almost every McDonald's game, this is a platformer again, where you throw apples that explode. You don't want to waste that good shit, huh, Ronald? Or excuse me, we'll call you Donnie. I seriously want to know what the reasoning was for making him throw apples. Was McDonald's like, hey, could you please not have your game wasting our food? We need to help spread heart disease and diabetes. Customers can't know our food is violent. Apples are the true enemy of the food world. Seriously though, the game isn't even terrible. When you finish levels, you're able to go into a shop where you can buy stuff, if you collected enough burger squares, that is. It controls very similar to Mario, and I'm sure there was definitely a kid out there who had the time of their life playing Donaldland. Same can be said about the aforementioned McDaniels video games. It just sucks for the video because they're all platformers. And I wanted to look at more McDonald's games that wouldn't make me repeat myself, so I had to dig deeper. After 3 hours of trying to build a virtual machine and make Mission to McDonald's Land work, which it just refused to do for whatever reason, I had to throw in the towel. It sucks because we missed out on this.
Only McDonald's,
Yep. This is a PC game from 1999 that is either hilarious or horrifying depending on how you want to look at it. I think I found the thumbnail. There are actually a few PC McDonald's games that I will look at eventually when I can get them to work properly. I just wanted to mention this one at the very least. Unfortunately for now, I only have the console games, which kinda sucks for McDonald's. As I'm sure you know, there is one more fast food corporation who dipped their toes into the gaming world, Burger King. Throughout history, they almost always lost the toy battle against McDonald's. Burger King toys usually weren't it. The suits must have known this as well and thought, we need to make video games to win. So they released 3 that you could purchase alongside your kids' meal: Sneak King, Pocket Bike Racer, and Big Bumpin'. We might as well indulge ourselves into the most famous of the 3, Sneak King, first. We spawn into a lumberyard, insert dramatic zoom, the king. There are pieces of paper scattered all over the area. We need to pick them up and accept the missions, where you then need to sneak up on people, either walking around or performing the job they are probably being underpaid to do. As you approach, you'll notice they have the human sense power of Helen Keller. They're only able to see inside this blue cone here. Anything outside of that just doesn't exist. After getting close enough, you press your A button, then you press it again when this bar is at the top. The king pulls off a Fortnite emote. You move on to the next person, repeatedly doing the same thing until you complete said mission. There are 20 of these missions in total per level. 20, with hardly any variation in between. All the missions are inherently the same thing. Sure, you might need to hide in a box to scare someone once in a while, but we're only using 3 buttons, man. Sneaking around giving people food. And you know, is this really the place you should be scaring people? What if you scare someone using a saw and they cut their leg off? Are you just gonna dance on their body and run away? See, this guy has the right idea. He looked like he was gonna swing that invisible axe right at me. I can't believe me thinking about this degree of violence being added was the only way I could keep myself focused enough to finish the level. I get this is a Burger King game, but it just drags. It's incredible. Why am I spending, let me check, an hour, 6 minutes, and 44 seconds to finish the first level? The final mission has you deliver 20 meals in one go. If you get caught a single time, you're back to 0. It's not challenging, obviously. You only end up losing out of boredom. Once you finish the final mission, you're able to move on to the next area. Level 2 was a cul-de-sac, which makes more sense. Probably shouldn't sneak up on someone working on their car. Still, it's much more reasonable than a lumberyard. As I was sitting here playing through the game, I was wondering, during development, did they have the idea of putting kids in the game and then thought, Yeah, we probably shouldn't be having a grown man king sneaking up on children, so instead they put adults that pass out and almost die of starvation when they don't get BK. I'm honestly not sure why Sneak King is the most popular out of the trilogy. I guess it's funny seeing the king walk around sneaking on people and dancing afterwards. I don't know, I'd just rather see him in real action, and that's exactly what Pocket Bike Racer is going to do. For some reason, this was the only main menu that worked for me. Not sure why. Look at that green screen ass on his bike. Love to see it. When I reached the character selection, it made me realize how rough it gets in the Burger King department with recognizable figures. The only highlight, aside from the king, is Subservient Chicken. The other characters are employees and a Whopper Jr. Obviously, I had to pick Subservient Chicken. There's no other option. What we have here is a kart racing game that is much better than M&M Kart Racer. Look at this, guys! We actually have items. Ones you get by driving through these cone setups. You can either let the bar keep increasing to get the better items, or use whichever one is last highlighted. You can't select which one you want to use for some reason, but big ups for creating a sort of unique system for the weapons. There's only 5 tracks. My favorite is Flashbang Town, that is needlessly bright for whatever reason. It's probably an emulation problem on my end, but goddamn, how are the kids gonna be able to see with all this going on? And yeah, sorry, I'm not buying a working Xbox 360 again to play Burger King games. Not yet, at least. Pocket Bike Racer even has variety. It gives us other game modes aside from racing, like Battle Royale, where we get to fight each other on all the tracks. It was alright in the first level, going around blowing up the employees. Then it stopped being alright on level 2 because all the cones kept getting stolen from me and I spent over 5 minutes driving around doing nothing. Regardless, this is a solid little game for Burger King standards. Not gonna pretend this is the greatest thing you're ever going to see in your entire life. It's just fine, especially if you compare it to Sneak King. This is also where I noticed something funny. The less the game has to do with Burger King, the better it is. Sneak King, all about meals, dishing them out to people, pile of junk game. Pocket Bike Racer, it has the characters. Our first track is driving outside of a Burger King. The employees are smiling, which is definitely not authentic. I don't think I've ever seen happy employees in a fast food restaurant one time in my life. Instead of a starting line flag, we have Tender Crisp registered trademark Bacon Cheddar Ranch rather than saying Ready Set Go. Outside of that stuff, there isn't any mention of Burger King in this game. Miles better than Sneak King. Then the real game begins when you play Big Bumpin'. The only mention of Burger King in the whole thing is the employees, the king, and Whopper Jr., and it's by far the best in the series. Big Bumpin' is a party game where we use bumper cars, being way more enjoyable than it has any right to be. Of course, you might struggle to read the rules of some minigames. How can you when you get no time for it? Whatever. Rules don't matter anyways, because bumper car. I'm playing bumper cart hockey as the Burger King king, pulverizing my minimum wage minions. This is easily one of the greatest power trips any human could ever have. There's only a handful of mini games, like one where you keep the puck as your color by touching it. Again, the hockey game. There's another one where you touch a light, then go touch a bumper without getting killed. Real talk, I probably enjoyed playing through this game more than I should have. Now, that could be blamed on contrast bias. I just played Pocket Bike Racer and Sneak King, so me running outside to grab a stick with my mouth could have set the dopamine off at that point. I don't know. Big Bumpin' really fits that Xbox 360 cheapo arcade game aura that you would expect from a game that costs $5. It's honestly the only Burger King title that would be worth spending money on. And it barely has anything to do with Burger King, which I guess shows that this stuff doesn't work. All the games we talked about, at least I assume, are trying to make me want the product they are advertising, outside of the Doritos games and the Burger King games, since you needed to buy those at the restaurant itself. It really makes sense why this isn't done anymore. In reality, it doesn't work and it's a waste of money. No one will play these and want to get the food afterwards. But just because the advertisement falls flat doesn't mean you can't make a fun game. Some of the ones we talked about were genuinely enjoyable. Pepsi Man and Doritos Crash Course especially. The whole thing is a very bizarre situation to say the least. These undoubtedly will forever go down in history as some of the strangest things to ever happen in the gaming industry. Make sure to leave all your thoughts about these games in the comments. I'm curious to hear what you all have to say about the food genre of gaming. If you somehow made it to the end, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out the playlist on screen for more videos just like this one. As always, take very good care of yourselves, and I hope to see you all again in the next video.